Okay, yeah, your video is good. Are you able to, all right. Welcome, everybody. Let's just share this on my timeline.
I'll do the post, okay?
Say again?
I'll do the posts. Well, I'll do the post on that.
Are you doing it to our group?
Yeah, I'll share all the stuff.
Okay. Alrighty.
14, right?
Say again?
Is it episode 14?
I don't know. Not really sure. All right, guys, for those of you that are already on here, just come on in, say hi. Let us know that you're there. Good morning, Kathleen. Open this on my phone also so I can see some comments. There's a ton of background noise where you are, by the way. All right. What's up, Richard Clark? Ibiza boy. Hello, Vanessa. Good morning, good morning. Just 1 second, guys. Just trying to find this here on my phone. Then I will be with you present. What's up, Mary? Guys, smile a bit. Oh, come on, work. Work.
It's me deep in thought as I try to share it. That's what's happening.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, I can go outside too if it's really that noisy.
Yeah, it's super duper noisy. Like, can't hear you. Okay, mute this. All right. Come on, phone, work. Oh, there we go. All right. Come on, phone, work. Slowly, working. Slowly.
The power of the hotspot.
Okay. Here we go.
This kind of doesn't have quite the viewing angle on my old laptop. Anyway.
My phone is working super slow.
Gregg is here too. Yes.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, you got to bring him out as a.
Oh, okay. So hold on.
Bring him out as a co-host.
Gregg. Oh, there's that sexy bitch. You're a little sideways though. I don't know why with Zoom you can't do the phone like on a wide screen. It doesn't. Oh, there it goes. It flipped. Yeah, we just can't hear you just yet. Hold on.
Go to your audio settings on the bottom left over there.
So while he's doing that, let me tell you guys what we have in store. What's up, Matt? What's up, David? What's up, Kathleen? So for those of you guys that some of you might know Gregg, and some of you might not. And Gregg is someone we were just in Colombia with. We did the whole experience with him. Amazing man. Hopefully he'll get his audio right so we can actually hear him. And yeah, we wanted to just get on here and kind of wrap all together and share some experiences and what's been happening in our lives since the event. Mm-hmm. And Gregg was gracious enough to be here and spend some time with us. So super excited. I know he's had some big things happen. And I know this is not technically a Q&A session. Like, I know this is just us talking, but if there's anything that comes up while we're sharing, while we're talking, that you guys feel you want clarity on, or you want to pop off a question, then feel free to do so. As always, your comments and feedback is much appreciated. And if you hear something in this that you're like, oh, did we just lose him? If you hear something or feel something that you'd like to share with others, and you're like, wow, this is a really powerful message. I know there's been a few videos recently that you guys have shared graciously, so feel free to do so. If there's someone that you know that should be hearing about plant medicine and ayahuasca journeys and the such. Cannot hear you, buddy. Bro, you can't hear him, right?
No, I can't hear him.
Let me see if I can make him co-host.
I actually hear myself talking on your end.
On my end?
Yeah, I can hear myself through your speakers. No, actually. No, it went away.
Okay. I try to make him co-host.
Yeah, so
that changes anything. All right. Well, why don't we start and
he'll figure it out.
Hopefully.
I trust in Gregg.
Yes. All right. Why don't I let you kick things off today? I felt like I've been kicking it off a few times.
Oh, yeah. Well, I spent 2 hours having a conversation with Lauren Peters last night, which was really, really interesting. I think I would like to maybe, since I'm going to have something come through maybe around illusion and reality.
Okay. Kind of what we had the conversation this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I really like that. I think it would be fun and creative to develop that thought. Okay. So kind of what we're talking about here, if I could give it some context, guys, is like, well, I guess where this is stemming from is, so ever since I've been back, besides the fact that everyone's like, wow, you're so different. The other thing that's been happening is everyone keeps welcoming me back, and that language doesn't sit well with me because I don't want to go back. I don't want to go down. I don't want anything. So I'm like, you could either welcome me forward or you can welcome me now, but you can't welcome me back because who I was is not coming back. So it just doesn't sit well with me. So I've been like, it's been fun not to like get in resistance around language, but to just be in like pure exploration around what feels good to me and really just not create with language I don't want. And then also with the people around me, make them aligned and aware of what language we're going to be using to create together. Because I know that whatever I'm exploring is probably effective for them also. So like a lot of the stuff we were talking about. So I guess for me, it's like a welcome back feels like let's reintegrate you into reality or whatever we're calling reality. And I'm also not interested in reintegration because why would I want to go like as in to go back or also do back into integration? I'm like, I don't want to go back and reintegrate. I want to go into disintegration and exploration and all that kind of stuff. So we had this like whole discussion about defining integration. I think integration sits well with me. Reintegration does not sit well with me. And then furthermore, kind of like the conversation we were having this morning, just around, like reality and the onset of reality and living in this reality that really for the most of us that we didn't procure a reality. It was kind of like, Gregg's a viewer again, by the way.
Say again?
Gregg's a viewer again.
Okay.
You're letting him out. Yeah. Kind of like, that we are living in an illusion essentially that we're calling reality. And most of the things that we believe are real are really just conversations that have been handed down to us through generations for millennia and have gone unexamined by most people to really figure out if this reality that they're living in or this illusion that they're living in is aligned with their truth, aligned with their inner vibrational frequency, aligned with their dreams, aligned with their hearts. And kind of the conversation we had this morning is like, why would you want to live in what they're calling reality and try to measure and compare yourself against that thing when you can kind of just keep yourself in the space of living in the illusion? I think people want to like bring you down and ground you and tell you what's real and then have you agree with what they believe is real, because if you don't believe what they believe is real, then it's a threat to their personal survival and a threat to their ego and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, what if we stop doing that to one another if you're really strong in your faith, what other people believe doesn't bother you. That's why it always, when I see people who are like trying to convert everybody into something, it just lets me know that person doesn't actually believe what they're saying. They need agreement from others so that they can feel good about what they believe in, when it really is not even fucking important. So why don't we just get rid of this idea that there has to be some kind of a reality that we're all agreeing on, and start allowing ourselves more in a spiritual sense to kind of like live in the illusion? Because like your dreams, most people for their dreams occur like an illusion. Like it would be a nice to have, but I don't know how to create that. Even though intrinsically and inside of yourself, like that's probably the most important thing to you, is like living in your passion, living in your dream. No. So I just want to kind of like open that and then see what you guys have to say about that.
Well, let's check in with Gregg first. Gregg.
Cool. Yes.
Yes.
You guys hear me this time?
Yeah,
He's got a voice.
It didn't quite load right on the phone, so
Okay, got it.
I had my laptop.
Nice. Good to see you and hear your voice, man.
Yeah, man.
Yes, you guys too.
It's so weird. Like, I feel like what we went through was so. It was like I don't know. I've never been to the military, but like the closest thing I can say is like when I've been through hazing and like in a fraternity, and it's like when you go through some event with people, it almost feels like you almost went to like a battle, and then you came out. And now every once in a while, like I'll look left, I'll look right. I'm like, oh, they're not here. It's been a missing.
Yeah, this last week it's been about the same thing. It's reintegrating into my current new life and trying to figure out where everything fits, plus catching up on everything. Everybody under the sun wants 2 hours of your time just to talk about it, which is fine. It's just, there's just a lot going on.
Yeah. So, bro, we were kind of talking about this earlier, like this whole illusion thing. I'll just say, like, Mary brought up a good point. Their reality is their illusion also. Mm-hmm. I think up until 2 weeks ago, our reality, which we thought was real and all that stuff, got shown to us as an illusion as well. The story I shared today with one of our coaching clients was that experience where, so Guy and I were laying down, and I literally like when you're on medicine, everything is heightened. Like you become super aware, and you gain back. I'm saying that very specifically. You gain back these superpowers that I believe you always have, and then you just got beat out of you because, like Guy's saying, it's in the world of worlds. If you go out there and it's like, oh, by the way, guys, I can heal people with my hands. They're like, no, you can't. That's not real, right? And then you're like, oh, well, maybe I can. I guess that's not real. And so you just sweep it under the rug and it's done. But I had like a pretty incredible experience with Guy where I literally was just able to do things with my hands, and his back became translucent. And I remember in this moment, like I sat up and I was like, wait, what? There's no way that what I'm seeing right now is real. And it didn't matter how many times I rubbed my eyes or what I did, I kept seeing Guy's translucent back. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what's happening right now. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I believe. And I just kept saying that. And like, I just kept seeing it and being able to do things and like all this stuff. And then at the end, it was really incredible. Guy didn't know because I wasn't touching him and he was lying down away from me. He couldn't see anything. And at one point, my hand just stopped kind of over his left hip, like this area. And I just put my hand over there and it stopped like automatically, like scanned and stopped. And I started crying and just getting so emotional because from that place, like what I felt like I was sucking up were all these memories of pain and love and misery and sorrow and gratitude. It was just like all these mixed emotions. And it got to the point where it got so hot and my hand got so hot that I was literally holding it like with this one to try to keep it on longer. And when I couldn't keep it on anymore, and I was just like, I pulled it off really fast and I was like, oh! And I like let it go. And at that same exact second, not a second later, not 10 seconds later, not 3 seconds before, at that same exact moment that I pulled my hand and like felt this black stuff just like get pulled out of him, Guy just goes like this. He was laying down on the side and I just see him go, oh! And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And it didn't matter, like, did I believe it happened? Didn't believe it happened? It was just so real and so beautiful that at that moment, I couldn't argue with it. Right? Like, I tried everything. I was like, I'm not seeing this. This is not real. Like, all of it.
Well, this is a good point, right? It doesn't matter whether you've had a dream, a vision, you've seen a movie, or you've read a book. Technically, that's just a vision, right? Or like some experience that you're having. Whether that manifests itself physically in front of you, I don't know about you guys, books and movies have had impacts on me. Mm-hmm. Dreams have had impacts on me. Conversations, which are not physically manifesting themselves in real time, but we're generating a conversation, which is creating a paradigm for us to look through and have experiences through those conversations. None of that is real. It's all just creative illusion. And yet we're so committed then to going back into this reality and living it like it's just like solid, foundational, like real thing that we have to deal with every day, when it's really just like, pick your fucking illusion. And whatever it is that you live inside of, you know, whether you believe that you're hypochondriac and the disease is coming your way, or whether you believe in a world that's like filled with like magic and happiness, you are going to manifest that reality. That is the thing that you're going to start seeing day in and day out. You're going to attract people who are going to reaffirm that for you, because that's what we do. We find people who reaffirm our reality for us. Otherwise, anybody who doesn't reaffirm your reality is not your friend. That's pretty much how it works, right? Because those are the enemies. Those are the bad ones, and we see that everywhere in society. So, why is it so important? You know, and I think that's like whatever insights you guys have on that and how people can set themselves free, I think is going to be very valuable.
Cool. Can we touch on this one thing too? I had an internet troll hit me last night, and I was so hoping it was a real account. I wanted to have this debate. But anytime somebody drops in something on Facebook or any of my social media, I immediately go to their account. If they're real, I'll actually have a debate. If they're not, I'm like, just totally screwed me because I want to have this conversation. And this is in the same lines, because this person posted up and said, look, ayahuasca is it's a drug, not a medicine. What you're doing is illegal. Now, first, it's not illegal in the country I was in, so therefore I abide by their laws and I abide by the laws of the U.S. And the second part is when they said that this isn't a medicine, my question is like, a medicine to whom? Like, who decided? Could that be not a medicine here in the U.S.? According to some. Could it be not a medicine or a medicine to other people in different countries? And the thing goes into, like, you know, we take products here in the United States like high fructose corn syrup, which is illegal in other countries. Mm-hmm. So, you know, where the hell are these people coming from? So in the midst of getting into this, was it real or was it not? I think it's kind of cool or important to say, like, what is a medicine and what's not, or what your guys' feel on that is.
Interesting. I'm sure Guy has more to say than even I do, because he's had multiples of experiences. Guy's actually made the medicine, so he can definitely share some other insights. I've done everything. I've done, you know, other than heroin, I've pretty much tried every single drug on the planet. For me, there's an experience in everything. Okay. Here's how I'll tell you I know the difference between medicine and drugs. So I'll take what I think are the two closest things, even though I'm doing this as a caveat, they are nothing like each other. But the one thing that I could at least, like, you can maybe start to kind of gaze what this is if you take mushrooms, right? Like, you have that kind of psychedelic experience. Here's the biggest difference. When you're on mushrooms, I don't care how many times you've done mushrooms, like, whoever done it, you can probably relate to this experience. You'll take mushrooms, and throughout the mushroom experience, you are bound to have at least 10,000 of the most earth-shattering, unbelievable, like, I've solved the mysteries of life experiences. And then when you're off the mushrooms, you're like, I have no idea what the fuck just happened. Like, I thought I had all these amazing thoughts, and none of them stick. If that, maybe one, you're like, you had the brilliance of writing it down or something. You're like, oh, that changed my life. So when you're on even mushrooms, which is a natural, you know, grown in the ground type of thing, very similar to ayahuasca, you're not there. your body has some sort of experience, your mind is having some sort of other experience. You physically, like the highest self you is not there. You might feel connection, you might feel love, you might feel euphoria, you might feel all that stuff. Having said all that, you're not there. On ayahuasca, when you're on medicine, you're the most you've ever been in your entire life. In fact, you are so super hyper aware of everything. It's like, the only way I can describe it is you've opened the conduit between your physical self here and your highest soul self there, and you get to have conversations at pace that is unimaginable. The thoughts and voices that you hear aren't things that you've ever thought about before. Like they're experiences and downloads from somewhere else. Definitely somewhere else. And every drug dulls you. Like it removes you from the equation. You know, like you go on a proverbial ride, and I'm talking everything from marijuana, alcohol for sure, LSD, MDMA. Like MDMA, you feel more love, but you're also not really there. It's like some alter version ego. This is truly your highest self. And to me, that doesn't feel like a drug. Even if someone was to tell me like, this is a classified drug, I would know that the way my body reacts, the way my mind reacts to it, it's like a friend. It's not like, oh, there's something in my body that's making me do these things. So that's at least the response that I can tell somebody.
Yeah. Greg, how does that placate for you?
Well, I mean, the easiest, well, maybe not the easiest, but the thing I see from it is maybe we have this misunderstanding of what the term medicine is in the beginning. You know, an antidepressant isn't necessarily a specific medicine. It's causing a reaction that somebody's having to lessen. You know, it's bringing them down, but it's not fixing a problem.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid. And for some, it's required Band-Aid. It's helping them get to the next, which then they can hopefully figure out their solutions. Absolutely. And I see, you know, more of a medicine of just what you were saying, when you're in your highest best self, you're figuring things out, where when you come out of it, you're better than you were before.
Yeah, and I would say that the figuring out is not an understanding that the mind has. It's a knowing that you receive, the way that you receive balance on a bicycle, right? Like anybody who hasn't ridden a bike can still understand a bicycle. They can see the vehicle at use. They can understand the physics of it. They can understand airflow and aerodynamics and all that kind of stuff. Yet none of that gives you access to actually having balance on the bicycle. You have to get on the bike, ride the bike, and then once that's in, that's a sensation that gets aligned inside your body, and then it can't be taken away from you. Like, think about how many things that you've learned in time that you really truly cannot forget of, and it's always like a sensory input in the body. So like this medicine works like at that level. It doesn't work in like your logical understanding mind. In fact, I would today I don't want to say argue, but like offer that really anything that's going to create tremendous value in your life or cause real transformation or healing has to be felt the way that you felt balance, not understanding. Otherwise, like everyone understands depression or understands weight loss, and yet like none of those things, like that understanding does not help people like relieve themselves of depression or like obesity or anything like that. But there are certain processes to go through, and then suddenly like all these massive breakthroughs. So I was just actually looking at the definition of medicine because I'm always curious. So I think a compound or preparation used for treatment or prevention of disease, especially a drug or drugs taken by mouth. And then lower than that, it says among North American Indians and some other peoples, a spell, a charm, or fetish believed to have healing, protective, or other power. Wow. Which is interesting. Yeah.
So we actually show video at the live events that we do. And it's literally, I cut out the part about ayahuasca, but the video itself is actually from a video about ayahuasca. And the video is, they did studies where they stuck people who have taken ayahuasca under fMRI machines. And they watch what actually happens inside the brain. And the way that they explain it is like, say you were a child and you got bit by a dog when you were 5 or 6 or whatever. Then now in your brain, you've basically created an association that dogs are terrifying, right? Now, every time you see a dog, or even every time you hear a dog bark, what happens is you've locked inside your brain a certain neuronal pattern, and that pattern is basically re-triggered every time you experience a dog, whether you see it or hear it. And the pattern is towards fear. Like, dogs are terrifying, dogs are terrifying, dogs are terrifying. So every time you see it, it basically reaffirms that fear that you created when you were 5 or 6. So now you're an adult, you're walking around, and you have it's just like an unimaginable fear of dogs, right? So now they put these people under, or they give them medicine. And what you can do with the medicine is, and this kind of goes back to where Guy started this thing, you can relive certain experiences or certain circumstances and reprogram the entire thing. So like, you could have a vision where you're playing with this dog and you had a dog as a child and it's loving and it's caring and all this stuff. And what physically happens in the brain, the neural pattern that is usually geared towards fear gets bypassed. And what the brain does is it actually creates a whole new pattern in the instant that has to do with your new programming around dogs. So when they say that you physically come out of the experience a different human being, at a cellular and neuro level, you do, in fact, come out a different human being. So to what Greg you were saying earlier, like what drugs do is they dull the brain. What drugs do is numb certain aspects of your brain so that you don't feel that pain. But they're not actually going in and healing and creating that new pathway where when you're off the drug or medicine or whatever you want to call it, that there's a lasting effect, right? If someone's on antidepressants, unless they're physically going and speaking to a therapist and doing the work and all that other stuff, which can also do that reprogramming of the brain, they'll have to be on that antidepressant forever because everything that they react to will still be the same. This stuff is so different in that in an instant, you can reprogram your whole brain. And that's what's brilliant. Like when you're on medicine, the brain does not know that what you are witnessing in that moment with your eyes closed or with your eyes open, whatever, isn't real, right? It is experiencing as this is happening. And whether that's like a previous life or future lives or instances with difficult circumstances in your relationship, like I reprogrammed my entire relationship with my ex-partner who I had massive, massive hate and disgust for, and in literally a 10-minute process on ayahuasca, like rebuilt my entire relationship with him. So to which point I have nothing but love for him. You would need to go to therapy or work with a coach or like whatever for a long fucking time to make that happen because that's all cerebral. This is like you get planted in the experience.
Yeah, because cerebral is cerebral is like habit training, right? The mind works through habit, so it needs to recreate habits, which is why we have all these challenges: 21-day challenges, 30-day challenges, 90-day challenges. We do to build new habits, and it doesn't mean that that's not effective. It means that it works till a point, and there's a limitation. I'll paraphrase the quote because I don't remember it exactly, but it's like man's ability to create, man's reach is as far as it's like as big as its imagination, basically. So it's like if we can imagine it, we can create it. And this is like scientific terminology. Like literally, like if we can imagine it, we'll eventually figure out how to like manifest and create that thing. Except all that lives in the world of doing. And while it may manifest itself in time, I think that's kind of what we need to talk about is like time exists as a function of language and doing. It's not a real thing. We actually live in a singularity where all things have happened, are happening, and our past is happening. It's all together, which means you actually have access to all timelines and all possibilities in the now. And what's in the way is the mind. So like it will create what it can create with massive limitation at the same time, where like you can have an experience love for somebody, and that entire relationship changes in an instant and creates a whole new possibility and future and pathway for that relationship to exist. So I really started thinking, and so partly just to finish that thought is these medicines, not just one medicine, these medicines allow you to go so far beyond what is common sense imagination into like literally like the spiritual and magical realms, like multi-dimensional, multiverse realms. Like when Ilan's talking about your highest self, what he's saying is you basically have a direct line between who you are in fifth dimension and who you are in third dimension. free of time, like ultimate possibility, like you're kind of like in the singularity living. So when we kind of like apply that to everyday life and we're manifesting and creating, I think the moment that you start creating with the belief of time, like something takes time, something takes effort, something takes doing, something takes work to get there, you're saying it's out there far away from me and I need to somehow like get to that destination, and there's no destination to get to. So in the feeling, you can kind of like extrapolate time from your experience and immediately have that. Like when you meet the one, like you meet your one, there's like a complete time collapse where in your whole belief system and structure around what you think is reasonable in terms of spending time with somebody before you want to marry them. Right before you meet the one, it's like, okay, I need to take time. We're not really going to have sex. We need to get to know each other. Like there's all this reasonableness, right? And it's like, here are the things that we're going to do before we're able to make that decision. But when you meet the one and that sensation is in your body and you're like, holy fuck, there's my soul. Just like it's my soul, there's my soul, and there's the soul and my soul, right? Like all that shit goes out the window and unreasonableness comes in, what people call unreasonableness. But really it's like now your imagination got expanded because now you're like, what are we going to create together? And there's that instantaneous drop in sensation that like, fuck yes, this is so what I fucking want. It doesn't require any time. So I think you just kind of give access to it in different ways. That's it. Everyone, mic drop. We left the room quiet. Peace.
I wanted to see if Gregg had a follow-up to that.
No, the time collapse that happens, the openness. You guys have done a great job explaining like what it's really like. Like physically, we know there's so much energy rolling through the brain that it's creating new neural pathways. We also know that it's reliving those experiences so they're not as traumatic. And it was such a unique experience for me to run through it. And I'm actually really grateful that I've done so much day-to-day meditation work, working out, working on my family, because what it really did for me is it opened up one or two major pathways of things I hadn't taken care of. It was like this conduit to say, hey, I'm going to make you close your eyes for a minute and back up really far so that you can see what you've been missing in front of your nose. It was just so strong. And I think without doing all of the things that we do on a normal basis, I might've missed some of those things. It was just super impactful. And
Would you be willing to share your story about your mom and what happened?
For sure. So going, through family history, I've had some ups and downs with family, and it's not fights. It's just finding yourself feeling unvalidated or unappreciated, as we all have at one point in time. So a couple of years ago, I decided to kind of back out of the family relationship and just go out and find out who I am on my own. And in the middle of my own personal development companies and my own personal development, this one pattern has come up a few times, like, hey, you know what? You need to fix some things with your mom. I hadn't really talked to her in a couple of years, and I'd written some letters and never mailed them. And always all of these things on the forefront. So, we're down in Moloko, we're down in Colombia. And on the second day, they asked, are there any other physical elements? Because we're a healing facility as well. Like we help heal the body. So let's take a look at this. And I'm like, you know what? I have these varicose veins in my legs. I've talked about going and getting them collapsed. We're like, cool, let me take a look. So we're halfway in this experience, and our main shaman, our main medicine woman, very, very sweet woman that I dearly love now, is rubbing on this leg, and she stops and she brings over a translator and asks the question, what's going on with your mom? And I explain this whole situation.
And by the way, this is in his calf. Okay,
this is in my calf.
His calf, and she's saying, what is your relationship with your mom?
And it's on the left side of my body, your feminine side. Like any things that have kind of shoulder problems, leg that's come up is on my left side of my body. And before this, I hadn't really put that together, the masculine and feminine. I guess it's worth saying, like, all of the programs that I've built myself up until now have only been for men. It's very much about the masculine. So I've spent all this time developing what this is. So she just stops and says, hey, what's going on with your mom? So I tell her, and she says, yahe or ayahuasca is giving you the opportunity to fix this. So tell me a little bit about it. And I told her, well, at certain times I felt unvalidated. People hadn't like come and visit me, and I was going through a divorce, and whatever my little story that I had made up in my mind was. And they give me this analogy. She says, imagine that you're standing around a lake, and there's many people around the lake, and you have this cup, and this cup is all of the love that you have. And you pour it into the lake, and the ripples go out across the lake from wherever they need to come back. They need to go. Well, that's love is for your family. It's for your parents. It's whoever you're talking about. You know, for me personally, it was for my mom. You poured into the lake. And she goes, you're right now thinking that you're going to pour this into the lake and immediately get lake water back. And it's going to be some love from the person that you wanted to give it to. And the world's not going to work this way. The universe doesn't work. What's going to happen is somebody across the lake is going to dump their cup in, and you're going to catch their ripples. So just pour in the lake. Like, oh, now that starts to make sense. And so now she starts talking to me about the physical manifestation of a problem I'm creating in my body, which is an emotional blockage of, you know, things that I've got going on. I'm like, oh, I came down here just to connect with the feminine side of my body and learn that, because I wanted more love in my life and more fierceness. Strength and fierce are two different things, right? Like anybody can punch somebody in the face, but it's staying in the fight, like, or staying in there and loving so deep that you're holding tight. So this is what I wanted to learn. And she's like, look, this is your block. So she tells me, she's like, you know what, I need you to go, and in 2 days, you're going to call your mom and you're going to figure this out. But in the morning, I'm going to teach you how to communicate with your mom through candles. And I'm like, whoa, this sounds really cool. So we go by the candles. She teaches me a prayer, and it's more of a set your intentions, pray. And it's this 24-hour intentions, you know, the power of a focus and the power of awareness on that specific problem. So I blast out a text, because we're in Colombia, I'm not calling. And 2 days later, I do another one, and I get like an amazing response back that I never thought I would. And it started immediately to rebuild this whole relationship. And it was really not only an eye opener, but imagine that you're in the jungle and, you know, I'm laying on this cot, dirt floors, and some woman who doesn't speak English is rubbing my leg and says, hey, you've got a problem here, which is also, I think, like doing your daily tasks and doing your routines, like it burns off. It's like we're gold that was just mined out of the ground. And all of these things help refine us until we find those one or two impurities, and we're like, that's it. And it's really exploded not only my feminine side, but my masculine side, and my focus and my companies and people around me, like, has just gone insane, because I sent 2 text messages from the woman in the jungle that told me to do it. And then the rest of what Aya gave me while I was there. It's insane. Awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's funny. We spoke about it with Gregg while we were there, and I was like, did you ever think that you were coming down here to heal your relationship with your mom? And he's like, no, not like, it wasn't even on the radar. And that, to me, you know, when we get back to the conversation and the thing you asked, like medicine versus drug. Drug is there to basically say, like, forget the pain that you have with your mom, get over it, move forward. Medicine is like, no, homeboy, here's what you got to deal with. And I know you've been refusing to look at this, so I've sent angels to you who you thought were going to go look at your calf, but they're really here to actually deal with the real thing, not the calf thing. And I think because we're in such a culture of like immediate results, immediate gratification, we disconnect that what's happening physically in our body has anything to do with what's mentally blocked. Aya medicine just makes it very, very apparent. And the healing process is holistic. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go work on this. Like, this is always tied to this, and somehow that, you know.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, dude. The text that you got from her. Have you guys spoken since you guys been back?
No, we have chance, or we have something to set up this week to just meet and sit down. It was really funny. It showed me how much of a story I was making up of it. Like, was it really a problem with my mom, or was it just a problem with me? You know, so I have a really great friend that's a Western doctor here in Utah, where I'm at right now. And he's a hormone doctor. And he was telling me one day about a lady that came in who was losing all of her hair. Her other doctors like couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and they had given her and treated her with all kinds of things. And so specifically, they did something called a SpectraCell, which is looking at your blood at the cellular level to figure out what was wrong. And for her, she ended up having a massive, massive vitamin C deficiency. And he started to explain himself, because he sees himself as a Western Eastern doctor. Like,
Okay.
you know, he's here, he's been practicing, he's the head of the board for something here in Utah. But he also knows, that it's not always just a Band-Aid cause. He said, look, what happened to us in the 70s is we were given products like Xanax and other things that were such great Band-Aids. We stopped looking for the root cause.
Yep.
So now if you have a great doctor, they might give you the Xanax, and they say at the same time, let's spend the next 2 years hunting for the thing that's really wrong so that we can correct it and you can get off everything. That's what Aya was for me. And there's Western physicians that believe the same thing here.
How long were you not speaking to your mom at this point?
3 years.
3 years. And during that time, is it something that you were like working on, trying to work through, or you kind of like put it on the back burner, like, eh?
You know, it was like one of those things where you break your leg and you get into it like a year and it's set funny and the bone's kind of poking out to the right. And you're just like, hey, I'm just going to deal with it the rest of my life.
I'm totally fine, guys.
Don't worry. I'm on crutches. I'm hobbling. Yes. Yes. It was something that, you know, relationship energy is like, it's the one that will usurp you the fastest. It's also the one that you can bury the longest. So it's there in your head all the time. You're like, I should do something about that this week. Okay, I'll deal with that on Thursday. And then the next week you're like, oh man, I'm still thinking about this. I should do it. And then you drink some more. So you'd think about it 2 weeks from that. So the sedation process here in the US, and it could be alcohol, it could be food, it could be television.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what the thing is, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is something that I knew, and I knew it would mean the world to her. I just chose to be selfish and sedate in whatever ways I needed to, you know, not deal with it. And not even thinking about it was a way of sedating.
And that's an interesting thing, because it's like we do this a lot. We get into arguments with people, something that's not completed, unfulfilled, whatever. We take that energy, we bury it in the body, we hold on to it, and then we pretend like there's no impact, like sweeping something under the carpet makes it clean. And then you're like in an argument with that person. You don't know what you're arguing about. You don't understand what you're arguing about, but you know you're positional about something. So it's important to fight for like your life right now. And then like you get out of it and you're like, what the fuck are we arguing about? And the thing you're arguing about is the thing that you haven't taken the time to examine, get responsible for, get complete and get healing around it. And then there's not an impact. So it's like we're unconsciously doing these things, pretending like they're not impacting our lives, where it's like all your relationships now, and I'm sure, I don't know if you've been out in the world long enough to like really get the impact of it, but like healing work around your mom is like healing work around the entire like feminine energy and feminine, you know, like every woman in your life. So it's like you get to come and be a completely different person in every environment around women. Like women are got to be around you like, okay, Greg's like really different, right? And there's like this piece about you. I mean, since I've been back, every woman in my life has been like, you're unrecognizable. Yeah. And it really, like, you know, with Marcy and Maria just being down there and then kind of like reaffirming the softness all the time, it really allowed me to be like, wow, I'm wanting to, like, I'm desiring to be softer, and like very naturally doing that. Like one of the things that has come out, I'm like, I have like a deep thirst for like loving and appreciating people. Yeah. Like loving on them like crazy. Like I'll walk up to my friends all the time and I'll hug them and I'll be like, thank you for being in my life. Like I love you so much. Like I randomly send texts to everybody. I started a little group and I just give them like little, like of all my friends. I just do like my little universal download of the day. I'm like, here's the reminder for today, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like been all love. And then, so we got back on Monday. By Tuesday, I had 7 people in my house talking about this experience and doing like activation exercises with them. Now, 2 of my best friends, who are amazing people, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind me sharing about this, but I'll leave their names out just for privacy reasons, are amazing people. Ilan knows exactly what I'm talking about, I hope. But they're very logic-minded. And I could see that while what I was sharing was like opening stuff up for them, their frustration was there. Because right away they're like, okay, so what do I do? What do you mean we don't need to do anything? right? Like it's just so outside their world. And yet a few months back, they had started creating this new life for themselves, and now they are not working on it at all. So at the end of the evening, I'm like, how come you guys haven't worked on it? And something happened over New Year's, like some communication. And since then, that was an incomplete thing for them that they stuffed with their bodies and was now showing up. So now they went back to doing the things that they know to do. He's doing his filming, she's back to her copywriting, and it's not really working for them, or it's creating the results that they had before, which are not the results they want now. Why? Because there's no more alignment for them in their vibrational frequency and doing that. So they're literally going against their own vibration to go and do something that they don't even think you want to do anymore. So they were like in this place of like, I don't understand. I'm like, notice the language you're using. I don't understand. That's like, I want to understand so I know what to do, right? And all that stuff. And so like it kept coming up. So like for the next 24 hours, even after that, they were like texting me, and they're like, and every time I could feel the frustration, right? And I'm like, good. I'm like, that's what you guys need to go through. You need to deal with that frustration. And I just kept kind of like offering them ways of like going into their body and stuff like that. So anyway, it's Saturday night. I'm sitting there with a guy, another girl, and she already broke through like 2 days later. Like I could already feel her whole essence change. So she's sitting there on Saturday, and I just like, I did a hepe ceremony with him earlier in the evening. And then I see him sitting there, and I could see that it got in. You know, like that had gotten in. And he's sitting there, and he's got this like look on his face, and it's beautiful because the realizations then come. The action becomes natural, and he's pulled towards it, and I could just see immediately like the creativity turning on and the God presence turning on and all that stuff. And he just looks at me and he goes, thank you so much. You know, and it like heartfelt, like for being in my life, for just offering what you offered. And whatever, for a few days he was frustrated. Is that bad to do? Like, I didn't do anything to him, but is that bad that you have to go through a few days of frustration and challenge your really how you've been operating your whole life inside the world of doing, so you can have this whole opportunity to start stepping into like pure manifestation? Fuck no. So right now, that's why I made a commitment. I'm like, I open my house 7:30 p.m. every Tuesday. I'm like, come here. We activate here. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what to say. I'm like, there's going to be energy in the room. I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to meditate into it. And I'm going to just see what comes through me, because that's what needs to be listened to. I have like 20 people coming up today right now. And fuck it. I'm like, this is not about money. It's not about anything. It's about my peer group around me puts me or takes me out of flow states. They support me. We have huge conversations together. It's a huge part of my personal development and my spiritual development. If there's anybody that I want to give access to as quickly as possible to this kind of technology, are the people I spend the most time with, right? Yeah. And I think, and that's something for all of us to really look at, is we are products of our environment. You know, ducks swim with ducks, swans with swans. Ilan, I say that all the time. And it's like, you can also get responsible for elevating those around you, because we both feed on each other, and we're both feeding and being fed on in our relationships. So it's like, I want to feed these people the goods, because when I feed on them, I want the goods too. And it's creating those kind of relationships where it's not about, let's compete, I'm good and you're not, look up to me. It's about how do we collaborate so that we can move towards an evolution for the greater good. And that starts with the people around you.
100%. Sounds like the very beginning of the surrender experiment.
100%. And I can just see now, like, I'm quickly absorbing new humans into my life. I've never had so many people reach out to me. Like, on a regular basis, I have strangers reaching out to me. I won't get into it too much, but like specifically what's happened around women with me over the last, since I've been back, it's just insane.
Gregg too.
Yeah, it's just
Gregg
beautiful.
Too.
It's a most beautiful way, but I'm attracting like everything. But there I noticed a lot because I had a lot of healing in that space. And it's just like what I'm providing for people, like it's coming from like a really joyous place, like effortless service. Really, really beautiful.
I mean, for me, what's interesting is I had two super, super powerful women in my life. One reached out to me actually while I was in Colombia. After I found out afterwards and talking to her that it was like after a post that I posted in Colombia. And another one, who's my best friend's wife. Also, we were just hanging out this weekend, and like both of them pretty much said the same thing, that while they loved what Guy and I were up to, and they even loved what we were doing for the world, they couldn't listen to it. Like, it was so masculine. They didn't know the words of how to describe it, but like when I told them my experience, they're like, holy shit, that's exactly it. Like, the way they described it, it was, and it just makes sense. Like, we were in a masculine, right? So it's like, as much as we thought we were humble and there is no truth and all that stuff, the messaging was like, we got the secret sauce. You want it? Come and get it, right? Like, very masculine. Like, we figured shit out. Even though I don't think we ever said that or thought that, and maybe other people don't have that experience, whatever. But these two women who were really, really close to me, and also really, really powerful, successful women, had those kind of conversations. And both of them were like, I love the new you. Like, I don't know what you did in the jungle, but like, I feel like I can talk to you. I feel like I can hear you for the first time. And it's amazing. And I keep like looking over at my wife. I was like, are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? Because it's just, I don't know if this is your experience. Like, I haven't had to recall something that I experienced in the jungle. I'm not walking around going like, oh, Ilan, remember, do that thing. Whereas every other program that I've ever been to, from Landmark to Tony Robbins to all these other seminars, it's like, okay, like, you know, Tony Robbins, like, get into peak state. And like, you have to like, remember, okay, how do I feel? Okay, do this, do that, step this, you know, like all of these program things. That's almost like a new exercise you learn at the gym. And you're just super awkward at it for a long time until you finally, your body figures out and goes, oh, okay, this is how we do that, which is great. I'm not knocking any of that stuff. In fact, I think it makes what we did in the jungle that much more powerful. Having said that, I walked out of a week experience where my mind just got expanded in a million different ways, and I don't have to recall shit. I just get to be. Because my experience with both the women is like, I've pretty much been saying the same thing. Like the one girl, we were at dinner, she's like, honestly, before, a lot of the stuff that you said to me occurred like it was being regurgitated from something or this thing or that thing. She's like, I don't even know where the information that you're sharing with me now is even coming from. She's like, it's just been so different. And I'm just sitting back and going, wow, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not acting I'm nothing. It's just like be.
Yeah, the essence has shifted.
Experience like that also.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Just the essence of who you are has shifted. It's like the vibrations has just changed so much. Like, I wake up every day and even I'm like, wow, like I don't recognize my own human experience, and I love it because it's like, it's just fun to explore, and it's something like I so naturally want to grow into, and not be like, okay, well, let me kind of go back to the way that I was before because that's more comfortable. I'm like, no, this is just so beautiful. And I think Gregg kind of mentioned before, like, I think stepping more into the feminine has actually empowered the masculine. It's like a different frame of reference. So you get like a little bit more relativity. It's almost like you can step outside of yourself and be like, oh, okay, no, it's a good time to like provide more softness. I'm like, okay, now I can be more powerful. And it's made it like a dance within yourself of like, all right, well, how do I want to play with this energy right now? Instead of just having like one frame and one design and one formula that you always apply into every situation to try to like make something happen. You know what I mean? Now it's like this beautiful creative dance all the time. Yeah.
It's like getting an off-speed pitch.
Yeah, it's like the term I like to use is all boats rise with the tide. Like everything rises when you find your weakest spot. It's somebody coming to, you know, even one of your programs and you're severely I'm pretty married, I'm doing well, you know, I meditate, and then you get them in line with the weight problem. They're like, dude, I didn't even know how good everything else could be.
Yeah.
Same style of thing. This is just really granular, right? Like right into like the small minute parts of femininity and communication.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing we're kind of like winding down here, but the one thing I want to offer everyone that's listening or watching the recording is one of the biggest shifts I think that we've just played with it has to do with language. Language creates your world, right? So you notice Gregg catch himself a couple times where he said but and then he altered it to and, right? The reason we do that is because but kills everything that was said before. So that's killing that off and builds on top of. Another thing that, Marcy does just so brilliantly is she never uses the word have. You never have to do anything. You get to do everything. And it's to extremes like we get to be up there at 1 p.m. Like everyone, when you make a meeting, it's like, I have to be at this dinner at whatever time. No, I get to be at this dinner at this time. I get to leave my house at 4:45 to drive into this city.
I get to pay my bills. I get to be in service. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fanny, I come home and I'm like really present to this get to, and Fanny comes home or I come home and she's opening a bill and Shai's like, what is that? She's like, oh no, she opens the bill. She goes, bills. And Shai's like, what is that? She's like, it's a bill. What's a bill? He's 5 years old. Well, I have to pay someone. And I go, you get to pay someone. And she kind of like rolls her eyes like, ugh, right? And then I was like, babe, did you understand why I made that thing? And she's like, yeah, I kind of get it. I was like, no, think about it. Just, I get to pay the bill. And she's like, I get to pay the bill. And she's like, oh, yeah. That means like I'm grateful for the fact that I even have the ability to pay that bill. I was like, isn't that fascinating? You change one word and your thing is not like, oh, but it's like, wow, I'm grateful for the fact that I can pay this bill. You don't have to pay your taxes. You get to pay your taxes. Right? You've built an amazing business that creates enough revenue that you get to do that.
You've taken something that's a challenge and you made it an opportunity.
Exactly. So as soon as we do these shifts, like it's really, really important. Now, how do you take this deeper? Like one of the biggest things that I think all of us, and we were talking about masculine and feminine, one of the biggest things to catch yourself if you want to just play in this game and like start dancing in between the two worlds is every time you ask yourself, how do I? Any question like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I make $10,000? How do I make $100,000? How do I lose 30 pounds? How do I find all of that stuff is masculine. It's all brain. It's all ego. And what I want to offer you guys is that it's all a trap. It's a trap because it keeps you going around in circles. It's a trap because it keeps you having the same experiences over and over and over again. And then you're like, how? Same place at the same time, because the brain's job, it doesn't want the unknown. It doesn't want to live out in that world. It wants to live with what's comfortable. Having you figure out how to keeps you in that same loop. What we've basically all been working on is like going from here back into your heart and following your heart and being open and allowing and receiving and creating, which is all in that feminine. So what I want to offer you guys is just notice how often you're falling into the how-to brain world, ego world. And instead, like, look, I have this sitting on my desk. I don't know if you guys can read that. Instead of think it through, feel it through. Don't focus on thinking or trying to figure out how, just feel. Does this feel good to me? Like, does this feel like a fuck yes? Does this make me super excited? And just know that as soon as you get that answer, the next thing is coming. But what if we do this? And what if this happens? And what if they don't love you? And what if they think you're weird? And blah, 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 blah. That's the program. It will never go away. And just know to trust this. Because if you look at your life's history, you will have noticed that that is the thing that's gotten you everything that you talk about, like, it was so magical, let me tell you this unbelievable coincidence experience, blah, blah, blah. That's all because you followed this. You didn't have the roadmap. You didn't figure out how. You didn't do any of that stuff. And so if you want to tap into your God-given guidance system and power, it's here. It's not here. And doing this work and going into the plant medicine and doing all that stuff for a week in the jungle, like, lets you tap into this in a way that I guarantee for most of you, have never tapped into. That's why we get to go back into the world and people are like, dude, what happened to you? They don't even know. So I just want to offer you guys, like, start noticing and playing with that and feel instead of think, and see what transpires here over the next week or two. Gregg, I know you got to bounce, yeah?
Yeah. Hopping on another call.
Yeah,
all right, brother.
We're at the top
Thanks
of the
for
hour,
coming out,
so
man.
that was awesome. Yeah, that was a good place ended.
Yeah.
Everybody, love you guys. Gregg, thanks for being here, and definitely connect with you very, very shortly.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Love you, brother.
Later.
Later.
And for the rest of you guys that are on here, again, like, we've been bombarded with messages privately via email, people asking us, like, how they can work with us, how they can learn from us, all that kind of stuff. Look, the easiest way is either to private message us. You can find us on Facebook. You can go to our website, opt in, and just email us. You can email either Guy or I. It's simple. It's either Ilan at SatoriPrime.com or Guy at SatoriPrime.com, whoever you resonate with or feel comfortable with. Look, this is a movement. This is a revolution. Yeah, I'm not saying this in like a negatory way, but law of attraction is dead. I want to bring in heart attraction. I want to create a whole new thing around producing massive, believable, incredible results in your life with velocity. And in order to do that, we got to go here. We really, really have to go in and do this work. So if you're ready for that kind of adventure, SatoriPrime.com, email us, private message us. Would love to take you on this ride with us and have you start living the life of your dreams.
Fantastic. Awesome, brother. All right, man. Love you. Great conversation.
Love you, man.
Everybody enjoy.
Love you guys.
Bye, everybody.